Hello and welcome back to Universal Law Snippets. I am sliding in here at the end of the week to talk about the law of rhythm and astrology, which is a fascinating subject to me and something that has been around for forever. Like, astrology is one of the most ancient arts/sciences out there, and it is so deep and so interesting in everything. But I think we forget sometimes, or maybe we don't, I don't know, that it does really fall in alignment with this universal law of rhythm, because we are constantly moving through the signs in astrology, and the constellations are constantly moving through the sky, and the moon is going through its phases, and it's really lovely. And so astrology is one of those things that is a really easy universal, well, maybe not universal, but like on this planet, it's a really easy rhythm for one to kind of observe and tap into and kind of follow, and is wildly interesting and deep. So if you are interested in this, just hang around and let me tell you, okay? So I have never not never. I have always been kind of interested in and kind of hovering around the edges of astrology. Like, even when I was little, I would go up to my granny and papa's house, and they were those people that got the newspaper every day. And the first thing I would always do would be to read my horoscope. And as a Libra, I never really resonated because I never could really connect to that horoscope, but I read it anyway because I always thought it was very fascinating. And there was something inside of me that always knew that astrology, there was something to this. Like, I'm not sure what it is, but it feels very interesting that, where the sun was in the sky when I was born could give me like a little bit of insight about myself, which is what I think astrology is, right? It's just this like really intricate opportunity to kind of know yourself better, which for me feels oh so juicy and enticing, because I always want to know who I am. I always want to be like, who am I? What's going on? Why am I like this? Why am I triggered by this? Is this something over here? Is this something over here? And so even at a very young age, I was always like, oh, astrology, that feels kind of right. But I never connected to my sun sign. And it wasn't until about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago when I actually went to an actual astrologer, and she told me about my moon sign and my rising sign. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then I got a couple of readings, and I kind of really dove in deep. And now astrology is one of those things that I would not call myself an astrologer, and I would never like give anyone outside of my family like an astrological reading, but I do say that I know enough to be dangerous. Okay. And so astrology is one of those really easy rhythms that is naturally occurring, that is easy to kind of tap into and follow, and kind of look at your world through some kind of lens, right? So right now we are kind of towards the end of Sagittarius season, which feels very nice. Okay. I like Sagittarius. I'm a Sagittarius moon. And so I like this season, right? And so when I first came into astrology, I had to like make associations like, what does this season mean to me? What does this season mean to me? And for me, Sagittarius, I was like, oh, this happens from like mid-November until like right before the solstice, or right at the solstice. And so for me, Sagittarius always feels like, ooh, very fun, very energy. It's represented by a centaur, and it's a fire sign. And so it feels very exciting, right? As we're getting ready for this holiday season. And so I started like kind of making my own personal associations with these astrological signs. And so I kind of naturally fell into this rhythm with the sky and everything. And even over the summer, I was outside a lot at night and I was able to kind of like watch the constellations move through the sky and watch the moon. Like I just knew every night, I was like, the moon starts here and it ends over here at this time. And then when I see it in the morning, it's going to be back around here. And it was just, it's very interesting. So if you have ever been like, I don't know what my rhythm is, or how do I even tap into that aspect of myself? I think that if you don't necessarily resonate with like the seasonal rhythms, or maybe you're like you wake up and go to sleep at a wonky schedule because of your work or whatever reason and everything. I think astrology or constellations or the moon are really great places to kind of play around with. And even if you don't want to understand any aspect of astrology, I think just watching those things take place and observing them can really kind of like get your body and get your mind aware of that particular rhythm, right? So like I know that I always see Orion in the sky during winter season when I look outside my back porch to the right, and like during the fall or winter, I can see like Cassiopeia up in the sky. I'm an astrology nerd, not just an astrology nerd. I'm an astronomy nerd too. Okay. I love the sky. I think it's fascinating. There's endless things out there. And I think it's really, really cool. I don't want to go out there, but I like to look out there. And I love the moon. I do a podcast with a couple of friends called Manifesting with the Moon. And each month we come on and we talk about, what's happening during the full moon and what's happening during the new moon and how we're feeling and everything. And it's a really good way to get into that kind of rhythm. If nothing, if you're having a hard time and you're like, I don't know what my rhythm is, it's getting into the rhythm of things out a little bit more obscure and outside of just like, spring, summer, fall, and winter, or day and night, or even just the moon. And astrology is a good one. But I think even the constellations, I think they have their own rhythm, everything has its own rhythm. And I just think it's endlessly fascinating. So I wanted to talk today about that because even though I'm not an astrologer and I would never claim to be an astrologer, and I don't think that's like in my purpose, I do find it endlessly fascinating and I love reading books about it and I love diving into the different signs and the houses. And I think it's just so fascinating. And I love knowing what's happening around me just so that I can observe the world through the lens of that particular sign. So that's the law of rhythm in astrology. If it's something that, you kind of follow, then you're like, yeah, duh, that's my rhythm. I know that rhythm. But if it's not something that you have ever really dove into and explored, then it might be something that you want to, because there's something to it. It's been around since like ancient Egypt, maybe longer. So obviously something is in sync, right? So, and that's not just Western astrology. Like I love Chinese astrology too. I think all the astrology is Vedic astrology. I think it's all super crazy fascinating. And I love reading about all of them. So maybe look around. Maybe you want to follow the Chinese astrological signs in the new year as we are approaching this next lunar new year, or, whatever feels good. It's just another rhythm to kind of look at and tap into. So that is all I have for you guys this week, and I will catch you later. Bye.